Okay, now the rules for multiplying and dividing integers. It is helpful to organize the negative signs and the positive signs in a tic-tac-toe board to help you remember the rules. The top line illustrates multiplying or dividing a positive number with a negative number and shows you that the answer is negative. The middle line shows you that a negative number multiplied to or divided by a positive number gives you a negative answer. The bottom line shows you that multiplying two negative numbers or dividing two negative numbers gives you a positive answer. Now for some examples. Let's start with problems you're quite familiar with. Positive number times a positive number. So 2 times 12, a positive 2 times a positive 12 gives you a positive 24. Now for the opposite example, a negative 2 times a negative 12. If you refer to the bottom line of the tic-tac-toe board, negative times a negative will result in a positive answer. Negative 2 times negative 12 is positive 24. Now for an example, if the numbers have different signs. Let's consider negative 2 times positive 12. If you will look at the middle line of the tic-tac-toe board, a negative times a positive will always give you a negative answer. So negative 2 times positive 12 equals negative 24. So what happens if the first number is positive and the second number is negative? The top line helps you remember that a positive times a negative will result in a negative number. So a positive 2 times a negative 12, on the top line, positive times negative gives you a negative answer. In the case of division, we can still refer to the tic-tac-toe board. Starting with two positive numbers, 48 divided by 12, a positive divided by a positive, the answer is a positive. The negative divided by a negative is represented by the bottom line of the tic-tac-toe board. A negative 48 divided by a negative 4. Negative divided by negative is a positive. Negative 48 divided by negative 4 is a positive 12. A positive divided by a negative. 48 divided by negative 12. Positive divided by negative results in a negative answer. 48 divided by negative 12 is a negative 4. What happens if the negative number is first? Negative 48 divided by 12. We can look at the tic-tac-toe board to see that a negative divided by a positive is a negative answer, negative 4. Why don't you try these problems and check the answer after you're finished.
This would be a good time to pause your video.
All right, referring to our tic-tac-toe board, negative times negative, negative times negative results in a positive answer. In this problem, we have a positive first number times the second number, which is negative, and you see that our answer is negative 63 here. Negative divided by a negative turns out to be a positive from the tic-tac-toe board. Positive divided by negative results in a negative answer.
Alright, the next section that we'll be going over is adding using positive and negative numbers. Now when we talk about this, there's a rule that we follow that many of you know, a song that goes along with it. Something that we talk about is when we add, sometimes we have same signs and sometimes we have different signs of numbers. With same signs, we add and keep the sign of that number. For instance, if we have a positive plus a positive or a negative plus a negative. The other part of the rule says that if we have different signs, a positive with a negative or a negative plus a positive, we subtract. But in doing that, we keep the sign of the larger number. So let's try some examples together. If we have a positive plus a positive, that might be something simple like 4 plus 11. 4 plus 11 is 15. Now we have something, a negative plus a negative. We're still here with the same signs. So we add and we keep them the sign of the signs that we already have. So let's try two negative numbers added together. Let's try negative 3 plus negative 13. A negative plus a negative, we keep the same sign. So we will have a negative answer. 3 and 13 together make 16, so we get negative 16. The next side, we have positive plus a negative or a negative plus a positive. So that takes us back to this rule right here. Different signs we subtract, but we keep the sign of the larger number. And we're going to do a positive plus a negative. A positive number, let's say, is 6 plus a negative number. Our negative number is negative 2. 6 plus negative 2, that could be thought of as the same thing as 6 minus 2. 6 minus 2 is 4. Let's look back. We keep the sign of the larger number. The larger number in this is 6. 6 is positive, so our answer should be positive. In our last example here, we have a negative plus a positive. A negative number could be negative 7 plus a positive 3. In our rule up here, when we have different signs, we're supposed to subtract them. That might be something like 7 minus 3. 7 minus 3 is equal to 4. But remember, we keep the sign of the larger number. The larger number up here in the original problem was 7. 7 is a negative, so we need to make our problem answer a negative, being negative 4. Here I've done some examples for you. Go ahead and pause the video, try each one of these examples, and when you feel comfortable, come back and we'll do these problems together. Alright, now we're going to take a look at the examples that you just tried on your own. In the first two here, we have a positive plus a positive. Positive plus a positive, we have same signs, so we add them together. 4 plus 9, we get 13. In the next one again, we have a positive plus a positive. Keep the sign. 7 plus 13, we get 20. Down here, we still have the rule of same signs, and we keep the sign that we already have. But here we have a negative plus a negative. Negative 5 plus negative 7, we get negative 12. Down here, we have negative 9 plus negative 8. 9 plus 8 is 17, but we keep the sign so it's negative 17. Over on my right side here, we now have two different signs in our problems. So we have 22 plus a negative 4. We have different signs, so we keep the sign of the larger number. The larger number being positive, so our answer is 18. In the next one, we have 17 plus a negative 15. Again, keep the sign of the larger number, 17, so it's positive. 17 minus 15 is 2. Lastly, we have a little bit of a switch. Negative 14 plus 19, a negative plus a positive. Here, we subtract. So it's kind of like saying 19 minus 14, which is 5, but we keep the sign of the larger number, so it's positive. In this last one, we have a negative plus a positive. Negative 17 plus 13, which is like saying 17 minus 13, which is 4, but we keep the sign of the larger number, making it negative.
This lesson is on subtracting integers, all right? So the first thing that we need to talk about is the rule. The rule of subtraction is that you add the opposite, meaning you're going to turn the subtraction sign into addition, and then the next number that comes after it, you're going to turn it into the opposite. Remember, the opposite is, if you have a positive, the opposite of a positive is a negative, or if you have a negative, the opposite of a negative is a positive. Now, we actually call that chum chum, all right? So I'm going to give you a couple of examples. I'm going to do a positive minus a positive. For example, 5 minus 11. So the rule says to add the opposite, meaning I'm going to turn this into addition. So I'm going to add the opposite. So then now that says 5 plus a negative 11. And then you learn from Ms. Phelps' video that when we use addition, the rule same sign add and keep, different sign subtract. 11 is negative, 5 is positive, so I'm going to subtract. 11 minus 5 is 6. Keep the sign of the bigger number, so the answer is negative 6. So we started off with 5 minus 11, chum chum, equals negative 6. Let's try a positive minus a negative. How about the number 13 minus a negative 6? Okay, so again, I'm going to turn the subtraction into addition. I want to add the opposite. Add, and then change this negative to a positive. Add the opposite. Chum chum. 13 plus 6 equals
19.
Nine.
19.
What about when we have a negative? Here's an example of a negative with a negative. How about negative 7 minus negative 3? Well, remember the rule says to add the opposite. We're going to take the subtraction and turn it into addition, and then take that negative and turn it into a positive. Chum chum. Chum chum. So now I have a negative 7 and a positive 3. Same signs add and keep, different signs subtract. So this is the same thing as 7 minus 3. 7 minus 3 equals 4, but I'm going to keep the sign of the bigger number, negative 4. Okay? Last example, we'll do a negative and a positive. Try negative 13 minus a positive 15. Negative 13 minus a positive 15. Again, I'm going to chum chum, change the subtraction to addition, and add the opposite. So chum chum. Now I have a negative 13 plus a negative 15. The rule for addition, same signs, add and keep. I'm going to add these two numbers together. 13 plus 15 is 28. Keep the sign, negative 28. So on the next slide, I actually have 4 problems for you to practice. What I'd like you to do is go ahead and go to that, pause the video, and then when you think you have the right answer, go ahead and push play again and come back with me and we'll check. So these are your 4 practice problems to see if you understand it. I'll see you in a few. All right, so hopefully you have gone ahead and solved these 4 problems. So I just want to talk them through with you. This first example, 3 minus 9, remember the rule of addition is to change the subtraction to addition, and then the next number is the opposite. So I really have 3 plus a negative 9. And then the rules of addition say same signs add and keep, or different signs subtract. So this is actually going to be 9 minus 3, which equals 6. Keep the sign of the bigger number. That 9 is larger and it's negative. So there's how we got that answer. So hopefully you got negative 6. On this next example, when I chum chum, I have 4 plus 9 equals 13. Over here, negative 7 minus 12, I'm going to chum chum that. That's another same sign add and keep. A negative plus a negative. Negative 7 plus negative 12 is negative 19. Our last example, chum chum. Negative 14 plus a positive 18, so that's really subtract. 18 minus 14 is 4. Keep the sign of the bigger number, positive 4. How'd you do? All right, so after this practice, you have an actual interactive practice. So I'd like you to go ahead and do the interactive practice that we provided you with, and then do that short check your understanding. Thanks.
Remember, interactive practice is grade level.